Hare Krishna, everyone. Today we're going to continue from the last week, part 3 that we didn't cover, and I'm going to sing Jaya Radha Madhava. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So today we're going to continue from about the hidden characteristic of pride. And I'm going to share a summary from the last week, which I shared a verse from Bhagavad Gita 13:8-12 that humility is listed is the first quality among the that is considered knowledge. And the reason is because we can't even see the truth if we are not humble. We cannot approach any authority when we're proud and when we take pride in what we know and what we do. Therefore, humility is the key. It begins with humility and ends in humility. And in Bhagavad Gita 16:4, among the pride and arrogancy are listed first among the demonic qualities, because it roots in rebellion against God. And when we are proud of ourselves, we don't want to listen to anybody. And so pride, in other words, humility can listen to even to an ant, right? And pride don't even listen to demigods. And when we are humble, when we are proud, when we look at these little creatures from us, we are superior. So why should I listen to these little creatures? And therefore we don't really pay attention to it. But when we are humble, we can actually observe that an ant can teach us resilience and can teach us persistency. And so it's very interesting what happens when we learn to become humble. And humility is cultivated when we associate with other personalities who practice devotional service. So pride inflates the ego, not the soul. And when you feel proud, you're feeding the false ego. And when we identify that we are the doers of our activities instead of that Krishna is the doer, we are just allowed to do it. And so we think that I'm the achiever, I am better, when in fact we are just desiring. We're not doing. We're not the doers of our activities. And so growth happens when we recognize I'm not the doer, I am being allowed to do. And bhakti is all about dissolving the false ego and not fattening. And when we think that I am doing these things, I am so talented, I'm so intelligent, I'm so knowledgeable, we're not going to listen to anyone, and therefore our ego, false ego, becomes larger and larger and larger. And so pride steals credit from the real source, such as achievement, realization, talents. We think that whenever we achieve something, we think, oh, this is me. You know, I've done this, I persisted, it's my own effort, it's my own ability, when in fact, Krishna is the ability in us. And only from him comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So, especially about talents, our talents is just a gift as a result of our previous deeds. And therefore we can be grateful, but not proud of it. So growth happens when we recognize I'm not a doer. I think this one. Gratitude says, thank you for allowing me, and pride says, look at me for doing it. Yeah. And so pride also makes us compare, not to care. and such as I realize more than him, my service is better, where I am more advanced. We often compare to shine instead of being humble, to recognize that we are being bestowed those benedictions and gifts. And so comparison destroys compassion. It makes us see people as competitors, not as companions. And whenever we are proud and we notice someone is succeeding in something, or for example, someone read one book, so you say, oh, you read one book, so I need to read 10. Or you done this much, I have to do 10 times as more. Or you have this car, I need a more expensive car. Or 3 cars. Where we are competing even in knowledge, in service. So you're doing one thing. I need to do more so I can shine, so I can look better, and therefore we are looking for recognition to feed our false ego. And so gratitude celebrates others, but pride competes with others. And so the one thing I've realized, that pride is fulfillment without the heart, and it's often confused. Many confuse fulfillment with pride, and fulfillment is internal, is peaceful, and is grounded, and pride is loud, restless, and self-centered. And when we often, especially in the Western countries, we are encouraged to be proud of ourselves. But in fact, we should be grateful for whatever it happens to us, not because one says this is so meaningful, and the other says I'm so special. And all these gifts, all these talents, abilities comes from above, and as a result of our activities on the 3 levels, on the level of thought, speech, and deed. And whenever we achieve something, it feels great, and for that reason we shouldn't confuse the fulfillment or gratitude with pride. And so I'm going to share here the why people confuse pride with gratitude or fulfillment. And so the situation, because they come both from after achievement, and but they face different directions. One is toward me, and one is toward Krishna. And so a situation is given that you achieve something, and pride says, I did it. And gratitude says, I was allowed to do it. And another situation is you learn something, and pride says, I am wise. And gratitude says, I am blessed to receive this. And that's a completely shift of mindset when you appreciate what you do, and you don't confuse pride with fulfillment. And so especially when we overcome something, we can sometimes say that I am so powerful, I'm such a talented guy, or such a resourceful person. When in fact all these resources are Krishna's belongings, so nothing is ours. And we can't even breathe without Krishna. We can't even digest the food, and yet we take pride in that we're so strong. Look at me, I can lift this much weight, and someone barely lift 10 kilos. And so whenever we achieve little things that we achieve, we can be grateful for it, because Krishna allowed us to build that, or to achieve it, or to acquire that, or to receive something, or to possess something, whatever. So gratitude says, I was supported by the grace. Okay. And pride blocks learning. A person who is proud, they, like I said in the previous message, that it doesn't listen to anybody, not even God. And so pride says, I already know, and it closes the heart. But gratitude says, I'm so lucky, I'm still learning, and it keeps the heart open. And so the gratitude has the open mindset versus fixed mindset. A person who has fixed mindset, they are not open to new ideas, to new methods, to new ways of learning. And whenever two persons with open and closed-minded interact, especially if they actually couple, usually the person who has an open mindset sacrifices the most, because they are willing to bend, they are willing to learn, they are willing to adjust and sacrifice more. And the one who has a closed mindset, they don't want to. It becomes more about them. And so gratitude connects us with Krishna, and pride disconnects us from him while pretending we're climbing closer. And in previous class, I think it was in the first class, where I coached the Chaitanya Ajalila 6:239, where it says that one who thinks himself lower than grass, who is more tolerant than tree, and who does not expect personal honor, but is always prepared to give respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. And so right in the beginning is the key answer, one who thinks himself lower than grass. And if you don't think, we struggle to think ourselves lower than grass, that means we're proud. And therefore, when we are proud, when our heart is full of pride, there is no space for Krishna. So we struggle to chant, especially unattentively, or at all. We're not attracted to chanting as a result of proud heart. Why should I follow this process? Why should I follow the rules and regulations? I can create my own rules. That's what pride says. And so, profound men can change the holy. Proud men can chant the holy name, and the one who do actually the opposite. Actually, as it is in this quote, one who thinks himself lower than grass and who is tolerant as tree, not intolerant, and does not expect personal honor versus the one who expect honor, then he doesn't struggle to chant. And so I created a scenario here to illustrate this point. Is when on the left side, the man who climbs on top of the mountain says, "Yes, I did it. This is me." And I'm the king of the mountain. It's my own strength, my own effort. I climbed it. And the one who raises their hands in pride and forgets to watch their step. And usually they sleep when they take too much pride in their own abilities and effort. And on the right side is a devotee who climbed the mountain, and he thanks actually Krishna for thank you for allowing me to climb the mountain to see this beauty. Thank you for my legs, for the weather, for the nature. Because ultimately we can desire to climb on top of the mountain, but it is not we who is behind the mechanics of this body. We don't know anything. How, for example, if I cut myself, I don't know how the healing happens. It just happens. I'm desiring, and all of a sudden, the wound is gradually healing. And you might think, oh, this is probably me. I just forgot how to. There is like a second me behind. But actually, there is Krishna is within our heart, and He processes everything. And not to speak about demigods who has other functions. And today I'm going to share about the real pride, which is transcendental pride, and the difference is that divine transcendental pride is divine madness in love, and pride does arise not from false ego, but from deep love for Krishna and identification as his servant. When we think that we belong to him, everything belongs to him, and we are eternal servants of, well, we are servants of the servant, but we are eternal servants of Krishna. And when our activities is toward him, is centered toward Krishna, is transcendental pride, and when is redirected toward us, is material pride. And so the origin of false ego, which is ahankara in Sanskrit language, and the transcendental pride is prema, and one feels I am great, better than others, I'm independent, and the other one is completely the opposite, and it says I'm Lord, my Lord is the greatest, I am his, and I am completely dependent upon him. Nothing actually happens without him. And one focus directly, like I said, toward me, and look down upon others, such as the ant. Why should I learn from this ant? I mean, he's below me, and pride actually learn from any insignificant creatures, because there is many things we can learn even from a little child. And transcendental pride is toward Krishna and his devotees. And the results of such pride is that one leads to envy, separation, and fall down, and another one it leads to joy, surrender, and intimacy. And this is exactly what we want. We don't want to isolate ourselves, because when we isolate ourselves, relying on our abilities and strength, we suffer ultimately. And when we rely completely on Krishna, we are joyful. When we are surrendered, in fact, it's not imprisonment, like the concept of surrendering in war. You think as soon as I surrender, then it feels like a loss. But in fact, it's liberation. So one inspires the material pride inspires the kind of actions like criticism, self-glorification, competition, envy, control, neglect of scripture guide, and spiritual master. And another one is glorifying Krishna, humility, and increased surrender, and which is very interesting to kind of reflect. Which can take a snap, a picture of the monitor. And the ethics on consciousness separates the soul from Krishna by creating an illusion of independence. And in fact, we are not independent. And there is this belief, marketers want the masses to believe that independence is freedom. And so everyone is striving to be independent, that I am the doer about this, I've achieved this, I want to, and this is pretty much is playing God. I want to save people, I want to teach people, I want to protect them, to provide for them, to rescue them. And when we do it, we ultimately disappointed. Because no matter how, if a person doesn't want to be pulled from mud, no matter how much we try, they sink even more. They resist just to confirm that they are independent. This is pride. When I want to prove you that I am free and I can do my own, I can take my own decision. So don't tell me what to do. And when we withdraw and we are silent and we are living kind of inspired through actions instead of telling them what to do, all of a sudden their at some point their heart softens and they approach willingly to for advice or for some guidance. And transcendental pride identifies one's attachment and surrender to Krishna. And so we're going to continue with the characteristic of pride. One is constantly deflating praise, and that's like false humility, such as rejecting compliments dramatically, still relishing them inwardly. An example is no, I'm nothing but thank you, Prabhuji. And so the real issue is that ego pretending to be humble. We often do this to kind of many persons say that I don't want to attract too much attention. Yet they enjoy whenever they praise, and if they're not, they're disappointed. They didn't even pay attention to me, they didn't even say anything after I've done so many things for them. Yet when in person we kind of reject that, internally we want it, we crave it, and so that's false. That's when we constantly deflecting praise, falsely deflecting praise. And so the remedy is to say thank you and pass the credit to Guru and Krishna sincerely. Whenever we, especially among devotees, whenever someone says something to a devotee, we usually say Hari Bol, praise the Lord. In that sense, you redirect the credit to Krishna. You don't take credit for yourself, because our talent is given, our resources is given. Therefore, there is nothing to be proud of it, but you can be grateful for it. That's because gratitude is the greatest multiplier. So we can work on truly feeling small, not just act in it, but actually mean it. And the thing that we can reflect is that false humble act large, and truly humble feel small. They act unnoticeably. They are very quiet in their speech, in their activities, in their service, and they don't want to be noticed. Another characteristic of pride is subtle characteristic of pride is serving to impress others. As you can see in this scenario, the one who is working in the kitchen is not very happy because nobody noticed him. And another devotee, sometimes we want to act it, to be where everybody can notice, such as often do only kirtan. So choose service that will be noticed rather than needed. An example, I lead the Sunday feast kirtan, but skip kitchen duty. And so the root issue is pride prefers prestige over practicality. But actually the smallest things that we can do benefits us the most, not when we shine. So the remedy is to ask where am I needed most, not where will I be seen most. Isn't that a good question? And so serve Krishna, not our ego, false ego. And what we can reflect upon is that bhakti begins when no one is watching. Just like integrity, doing the right thing when nobody is seeing us. And this is sometimes when we find a wallet or something, might think, oh, this is a gift for Krishna. Nobody's seeing it. And and therefore I can take it. It is mine. But the right thing to do is to, especially if there is an idea in it, is to find the owner of that, and therefore that doing the right thing even when nobody is noticing. Overcomplicated simple things, so not a subtle characteristic of pride. And the symptom is making simple matter sounds profound to appear insightful. An example is given. Actually, your question about broom selection is connected to Rasapat. You know, when we want to be to appear as clever, as insightful or philosophical, when actually there is no need for that. Krishna consciousness is actually quite simple. Just chant the holy name. We can make it everything complicated, or we can make it very simple. And so the root issue is trying to seem intellectually superior. This was one of my issues, especially when I was exposed to books. For the first 27 years, I probably read 6 books in my life. Because I didn't know these kind of books exist. And when I read my first book that led to my transformation, I was shocked. It was like, wow, if one book can transform my life, what if I read 10 books? And what if I read 100 books? That completely will transform my life. And after this, when you start to read eat as many books as you want, 20 books later, you are overcome with pride and arrogance, thinking, I know so much things, let me teach you now. and so you become overly complicated and take too much pride in what you know, how much you know, and what you understand. And so the remedy is simplicity, to simplify. And that takes intelligence though, and clarity is more powerful than complexity. And we can speak like Prabhupada, with compassion and empathy toward every individual, in spite of their conditioning. Because deep truth is simple in words. But to come to this deep truth, we need to practice what we preach. And therefore, we become enabled by Krishna to make it simple. And this is when we receive this empowerment to influence and to touch someone's heart. And the thing we can reflect on there is that Krishna is very simple, so his love is. Another one characteristic, subtle characteristic of pride, is feeling above correction. This is very prominent, especially when we're proud and arrogant. We think that we don't need to be taught, we don't need to be corrected. And often, senior devotee might correct us, and we resist that. And the symptom is thinking this feedback doesn't apply to me, when we think that we are above this. And an example is that class on pride, good for the new devotees, not for me. I already read it, I don't need it. And so the real issue is ego builds immunity to transformation. And the remedy is to assume every instruction is for us. And so no matter what it comes, in what form, it comes from books, from a person, from a smaller, insignificant creature, or someone who just joined the company, who joined the temple. Because yesterday's novice in Krishna consciousness can become, tomorrow can become our teacher, or our mentor. And yes, so we can develop a taste for correction because it's mercy in disguise. And sometimes we don't have the eyes to recognize these moments, because Krishna sometimes teaches us in the most unexpected ways. And what we can reflect is that the Guru can help only those who let him. If we don't let, especially if we don't respect somebody, there is no possibility for us to learn anything from them. Unless we respect them, then our mind kind of opens to it. And another characteristic is spiritual jealousy. Is when the symptom of spiritual jealousy when feeling threatened when others advance spiritually. Primarily because we want to shine when we identify with our false ego. And so an example is, he's so close to the sannyasis now, must be showing off. Instead of be joyful and grateful for them, because everyone is a lover of Krishna. And when we think that I'm the only lover, then we're trying to, we're envious of others' success. We're connection. And so the root issue is pride feels joyless when others shine. And the remedy is genuinely bless others' progress. And sometimes it is not easy. Especially when in the beginning, and reflect. And what we can reflect is Krishna wants everyone to succeed, not just whoever is sincere. Ultimately, we all belong to Goloka, Vrindavan, where we exchange eternal love with each other. And so envy blocks the view of Krishna's plan. Because our heart becomes full, and in the beginning, when Shraddha is awakened, faith is awakened, it is compared with little Krishna within our heart. And since Krishna is often compared to the sun, when the faith grows, little Krishna grows. It becomes so large within our heart that becomes so shiny that darkness can no longer stay there, because Krishna is big. And so, and when the little Krishna is small within our heart, we can be very easily influenced by external false teachings, and so our faith can be shaken, especially beliefs. But when Krishna is huge, no matter false gurus such as Putin approaches to deceive somebody, Krishna completely destroys, because the sun is so shiny that and darkness can no longer ceases to exist. So yes, and the next one is displaying excessive external renunciation, and the symptom is giving up things just to appear more austere or advanced, to come across as advanced or renounced, when in fact there is still internal activities. The inaction in action, actually action in inaction, when we seemingly don't do anything externally, but internally we're still wishing material things. And so that's action in inaction. And an example, I don't even use bed, just the floor. Everyone knows that. Or for example, I don't eat any more sugar. I'm not addicted to sugar, or I'm not interested in women or anything that is material. But internally we're still wishing. And so the thing that we reflect upon is what impresses men may bore Krishna. Another characteristic is making yourself the hero of every story, and begin with "so I," and recounting events so that you always come off as the wise, patient, or victorious one. And especially when we have some experiences, we forget actually the real scenarios of how we acted in that particular situation. And we are redesigning that scenarios within our mind, and then we share, oh, this is how I reply to them. When in fact, we were reactive and we act as, actually I was very loving, very kind, I was very patient with them. And so we often misinterpret those vulnerable moments just to shine. And such as in this example, so I calmly said, let's just chant, and everyone was amazed. And the root issue is pride rewrites reality to maintain control of our interactions. And the remedy is to share stories that glorify Krishnas and others, not ourselves, because this adds to our false pride. And what we can do is to laugh at ourselves more often, and that requires humility. And because bhakti begins when we stop narrating our greatness. Like I was previously said, that everything starts with humility and ends in humility. Another pride characteristic is taking offense easily, especially when we think too much of ourselves. And in this scenario, the symptom is reading insults or neglecting to even neutral interactions. And so she didn't say Hare Krishna back. She must have hated me. And sometimes where everyone is caught up in their own minds, everyone is going through a battle. You might say symbolically, we have a battle of Kurukshetra within us. And we're going through this struggle of pride and arrogance and ego, false ego. And so we take any little offenses when it's really nothing. And so what we can remember is everyone is fighting in sin battles every single day. And the only difference between that some persons, they hide it better. But everyone is struggling, everyone is going through some emotional turmoil. But sometimes failure recognizes the area where we need to evolve. And so we shouldn't kind of be judgmental. And the thing we can reflect on is that a tender ego makes for a hardened heart. And another characteristic is always explaining yourself. This is often, especially in the environment of working place, and constantly justify your intention to avoid looking bad. Often, when someone is something happened, something broke, or someone avoided their responsibility, they're always trying to, all of us at some point, justifying our actions and decisions making. And this is a subtle characteristic of pride. An example is, I meant to attend, but then I got this call, and then the moon was in Taurus, or my alarm didn't work. I couldn't come in time. So the root issue, pride fears being misunderstood more than being wrong. And but actually, humility is more appreciated when we, especially when we become very vulnerable, when we admit our mistakes and our wrongdoings. I'm not trying to hide them. And so the remedy is let our actions speak and walk louder than we speak. And that means that we need to live what we preach, not just pretend that we're learned were that we understood, but actually prove it through actions to ourselves. And accept misunderstanding humbly if Krishna allows me. And what we can reflect is that the pure don't need to explain. Their heart speaks clearly. So, another characteristic is needing validation from authorities. And a symptom in this scenario is given that feelings secure only when noticed or approached by senior devotees. An example is, Maharaj didn't look at me today. Did I lose my bhakti? And the root issue is ego attaching self-worth to external approval. And this often happens when we are looking for acceptance, for approval, especially in a world where everybody feels I'm not enough. Especially it's prominent among women. And they're trying to, they are very dissatisfied because they're constantly trying to somehow feel validated. And what we can reflect is that true bhakti thrives in solitude and silence. And I'm going to share the last one because we have only 5 minutes left. Courting service opportunities. And the symptom is a reluctance to delegate, to share service out of fear of losing importance. When we take too much responsibility, trying to involve in every activities, and not given the opportunity for others to serve, we want to take all the benefits and kind of come across as important and surrendered. And because of greed, I want to take advantage of this and not giving an opportunity for others to receive mercy. And so the remedy is to train others with joy, empowering others pleases Krishna. And serve the service, not the spotlight. And what we can reflect on is when you let go, Krishna steps in. And so I have a few other, perhaps I can just go straight to the end. So the conclusion is that pride is subtle. It can dress in dhoti, in sari, it can chant japa, it can even cry in kirtan, but it cannot stand before sincere humility. And pride also can be purified. So that's I guess this is the good news. And it can be purified through primarily, probably the strongest one is association with Vaishnava. And through prayer, sadhana, and a genuine association. And we can move from illusion to introspection and from false ego to bhakti. And we all possess these characteristics, hidden characteristic of pride. And the solution is not to hate ourselves, but to admit our faults and be humble and become aware of this. This is not just like a list, the things that we should memorize, but to reflect upon it. And therefore, because pride is very dangerous when it's centered on ourselves, but when it's centered toward Krishna, then who's the one who bestows everything to us, who is the cause, the root cause of everything. Then we receive mercy. So with this, I'm going to conclude. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.